All right, my friends, welcome to episode number 23. Today's topic is why feeling seen is one of the most important parts of a wedding. And in full transparency, everyone, I have to laugh at myself every time I start a podcast. I'm here alone in my home office and in a in the podcasting world, the idea is that you try to batch your content and you have filming days and editing days and all of the things. And Justin, my husband, and I have done pretty well with that. But sometimes you get in these weeks, especially as we enter into wedding season, where it just doesn't happen. So today I am posting a podcast that will be published tomorrow, and I am on a deadline because I have children to pick up here in 30 minutes from school. So usually Justin is here when I'm doing all of this, but today it's just me. I've done the lighting, I've done the cameras, we're doing the audio, and we're just going to hope that this works out okay. One of the biggest lessons I think this is teaching me is to know that in order to be consistent in anything, you constantly have to make yourself feel uncomfortable and you constantly have to learn. So I share that with all of you in case there's any goals that you are working towards and just allowing yourself the permission to just try. So here's to trying. Here we go. And of course, a topic that I feel very, very passionate about. So let me jump right in. Okay, there is an assumption in the wedding industry that planners have exceptionally high standards and can be very high maintenance or controlling or create a high pressure environment. Certainly, media, movies have made this a fun little story that quite frankly, it just isn't. I don't believe it to be true from what I feel and how our team operates. But I will say that we still very much have incredibly high standards. And I don't mean necessarily perfectionism, and I definitely don't mean control, and I don't mean ego. What I mean is unconditional care and massive effort. Because I wholeheartedly feel that your wedding day doesn't need someone being a control freak. It needs someone who professionally cares deeply and is willing to put forth extraordinary effort to protect your experience. So I thought I would start with kind of deep diving where my standards, I think, were born. I was doing this fun exercise as I was writing the script for this podcast and just really trying to think about questions. And one of the prompts came up is, when was the first time I felt like I was holding myself to high standards? And I think that experience came on at an early age when I first realized the magic of what an event could feel like. And I knew then that in order to create that wow factor, you had to have incredibly high standards. And I know that when the moment everything comes together and people can actually feel something, that's when you know you've produced a magical event. And that's when I became obsessed with creating this feeling for our couples. My friends and family probably have fun stories about me. My brother, especially, he was along the ride on a lot of my adventures. But as early on as I remember my sophomore year of high school, we produced an event, and it was the MORP event with backwards prompts. So it was girl ask guy, and the sophomore class got to produce this event. And goodness, I wish there were. Obviously, the digital world wasn't the way it is now back then. And I wish I had more photos from this. I should try to dig and see what I can find. But I remember I wanted it to feel so real. So my brother and I went through alleys pulling big palm trees that had been cut down and just putting them in the back of my truck to create, I believe our theme was called the Urban Outback. I don't even know what that really means, but it was, we wanted it to feel something special. And so I think in those early years, I realized it's the willingness to push yourself to do wild things. And that's what I think can help bring that wow factor. And that's what I love seeing happen for our couples, whether it's through the design elements or through the entertainment. It's always the unexpected that makes people stop and experience something and feel something. And I realized very quickly that a detail I never overlooked was communication. And I started out in college at ASU, go Devils, as an interior design major because I felt that was the only thing that spoke to me that was in relation to event production. Now they have incredible programs, and I'm so thankful that we offer an internship where we get to work with so many students. And it's cool to see the different developments that the programs have made over the years. But at the time when I was going through this major, I just, it wasn't a natural fit for me. I was alongside students wanting to become architects, and just the skill level required and the precision, that wasn't my natural gift. So talking to a few academic advisors, I ended up moving over to the communication degree. And it felt very natural. And I loved the professors, I loved the classes, everything that wasn't super research based. And I also, there was a part of me, if I'm being completely honest, that wondered, should I have picked a more challenging major? You know? But now that I'm in this high level customer service industry, communication is more important than literally anything else. And every single day I feel that and I see that and I notice that. And also, and this is probably my biggest pet peeve when I work with vendor teams, is when there's poor communication, when an email isn't answered in a timely manner, when questions aren't addressed, when clients don't feel important. I think the message that poor communication sends or lack of communication sends is a lack of care. And that is just, in my opinion, absolutely not acceptable. So, even with my planning team, and they've heard me say this time and time again, if a client comes to us and we don't know the answer right away, or perhaps the question takes additional research, I always encourage my team, acknowledge the email and let them know you're working on finding the answer. It's okay to say you need some time. It's even okay to say you don't necessarily know and you want to make sure you're giving them correct information, but still acknowledge that you have received their question and that you're working on it. And I thought I would move into discussing some of the invisible work that goes into the planning role to be able to kind of showcase what I feel massive effort actually looks like behind the scenes. So let me give you some examples that our couples don't necessarily always see. Relentless communication. Back to communication. There is a ton of emails that go back and forth, calls and check-ins. And sometimes our couples are looped in and sometimes they're not, just depending upon what we're working on at the time. But the goal is always clarity so that confusion never happens. And please also don't underestimate. My team has heard me say this. I drive them crazy. Sometimes email is just not going to work. Sometimes you have to pick up the phone and actually talk something through. So you can hear the backstory. You can hear any confusion. You can hear an extended explanation of something. You can hear the human behind the screen that's explaining the situation. I feel like that is a little bit of a lost tool that we have to remind ourselves that we still have from time to time. Next, meticulous paperwork. Every timeline, every diagram, every design plan, every contract is built so carefully and edited repeatedly. And the reason why we take this so seriously is number one, your wedding deserves to be handled professionally. But number two, April, our director of team operations, lovingly calls this the hit by a bus rule. If any of our team members were hit by a bus, which certainly we hope they never are, anyone on our team could step in and take over that event and run it seamlessly. And in the course of nearly 15 years, we've only had 2 wedding days where we've had to step in day of for a lead planner. We take it very seriously. And all of our documents, at least the way our team is set up, is I have full access to them. Our leads have full access to them. We can see timelines, diagrams, like I said, all the things we can see in real time so that our clients always feel so supported. The biggest thing, and I just experienced it myself this week because I myself have a wedding this weekend, is when we send out the final paperwork. There, we've been working on a project for most likely 9 months to a year, and we have finalized everything. And it's our role to send that out to the vendor team to say this is the final information. And we ask that they all confirm that they've received it. But before hitting that send, doesn't matter how many years I've been doing this, there's a stomach drop because you want to make sure it's as final as humanly possible. You're double checking names, dates, spellings, attachments, everything. You want to make sure your couple feels completely cared for. Another behind the scenes topic that perhaps our clients wouldn't know about is guest experience precision. During a walkthrough recently, I was there with my upcoming client for this weekend, and we are doing a flip. That means after her ceremony is completed, we are taking that space and we're flipping it into a beautiful outdoor dinner because the cocktail hour is taking place at another spot on property. Flips require a lot of logistics. So, why we are there talking out all of the options with the catering and the rental team, we realized that the tables that we were planning on will not physically fit through the doors of where they will be staged. They're too big. The only option was that we set them out to the side. Again, you're pre-staging all of this, so that means they're going to have linens, plateware, probably not glassware yet, silverware, minimal decor elements, because you want to do this fast and efficiently during cocktail hour. It's very behind the scenes at Disneyland that goes on. And we're standing there, we're going through everything, and I look up and I recognize that where our bride will be walking down the aisle with her mom and her dad, most definitely behind her, the photographer will capture all of these stage tables. We simply can't have that. We simply cannot have that. So what does that mean? We then changed the table size. We went with smaller tables so they could fit through the doors, so they could be staged properly. And of course, with that, you're changing out linens, you're adding centerpieces. There's so many things, but it is the role of a planner to understand and see this ahead of time and solve it to ensure that it's as magical as humanly possible. Something else, staffing and family management. Families love their people. They love their people. And they obviously get so excited for the couple getting married. But with that excitement, and they probably don't even realize it's happening, comes a lot of questions, just questions out of their nerves, kind of going. So our role is to be properly staffed and have our dedicated team positions to be able to protect our couple from those little stresses that their sweet families can sometimes bring up on a wedding day. We want them to be able to relax and let us manage all of those logistics. And again, we respect that it just comes from a place of love, but we want to give them the reassurance that yes, everything's going to be set up at the correct time. Yes, everything's going to be set up properly. Yes, we're aware of what time it is right now. We know what's happening next. All of those things. They just need some reassurance because they go into like dream states of what am I trying to say? Like a mindset of a dream. It doesn't feel real to them. They're not paying attention to time. They're not even really in reality. They're in a dream, like a bubble. And it's so beautiful. And we are not. And the reason we're not is so that they can be and that they deserve to be. So that's a big, big um, important factor to us. Next is supporting our vendors. Now, we obviously are experienced, but we are also humbled in knowing that we do not know all of the things that go into creating the art that our vendors do, whether it's photography, videography, band, entertainment. We have to respect them. And day of, they may want to make suggestions to make things smoother. They may identify a trip hazard that we hadn't planned on. They may identify a guest need ahead of time. Just you have to be able to listen to your vendors, trust them, and accommodate them to because we need to bring their expertise to the table as well. The next topic I want to talk about is emotional safety and what couples actually feel. Again, all of the effort we put into it isn't necessarily about perfection. It's about emotional safety and making sure our couples can relax, breathe, and fully enjoy their day. Circling back to communication, when a vendor is slow to respond, it makes a couple feel unimportant. And that is just not okay. It's not okay. And that's why we get really protective over our couples. We want to protect them and we want them to know they are very much seen and very much heard and very much at the forefront of our minds and the vendor's mind. And that's what we refer to as just that emotional safety piece. Couples don't notice every detail, and that's the point. Guests don't notice every detail, and that's because everything should feel effortless. That way the couple can laugh, they can cry, they can live in the moment because someone else is holding the day down with all of the care in the world. And a planner's energy matters too. Calm, decisive, grounded, warm, accommodating, hospitable. The couples and their families feel it immediately. Therefore, the planner doesn't have to micromanage because the trust is already built in with the sweet family that you are producing this event for. So again, when I say I have high standards, the J Star Wedding Company has high standards. It's not coming from a place of control, perfection, or ego. It is coming from a place of effort and genuine care. Every call, every timeline, every walkthrough, every email, it's all about protecting the couple's sense of being seen and creating that emotional safety so they can truly enjoy their wedding day. Again, I've said it time and time again. When you're choosing your planner, look beyond the Instagram feed. Notice how this planning team communicates, how they anticipate a need, and how they will be there for you on your most special day and hold everything in that safe, protected bubble for you so that you can enjoy it. Those are the invisible details. Those are the ones you might not ever see. And that's what makes the difference between a fine wedding and a truly unforgettable one. And again, that's why this podcast is called More Than Just a Wedding, because behind every moment is a team who deeply cares, works tirelessly, and holds your day with love and respect and attention. Your wedding is more than just a day. It's a feeling, a memory, and a moment that should be fully felt. And that's exactly why we're here to protect it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening today. Cheers. I'm sipping on coffee. It's that time of day. Again, thank you for encouraging this podcast journey with me. I'm so hoping that you're finding this information helpful and valuable. And as always, if you know someone that is recently engaged or even in the middle of their planning process and they could just use some words of encouragement, please share this podcast with them. We obviously have it on anywhere you listen to your podcast, but we also have it available on YouTube. Thank you.